This channel is for educational purposes only. Make sure you do your own due diligence before making any investments. And there is inherent risk in trading, so it's speculative. Just make sure you keep that in mind. Hi, this is Joe Rabil with Invest Like a Pro. We're going to talk about the S&P and the QQQ and go through the market conditions today. I'm going to start doing that probably a little bit more frequently now that we're at a level in the investors' intelligence sentiment numbers that we're getting into some more of a dangerous territory. And it's a unique time of the year, near the end of the year, where we've been moving up. Again, I use the sentiment numbers as a backdrop. They're not as much as a timing tool as the trend is and other indicators like overbought, oversold. So let me go ahead and get straight into this conditions page. I did want to just show, I just added a few things. So just so you know, I've got the MWDH up there. And what that means is monthly, weekly, daily, hourly. And I have it twice because the first time is for the trend and the second time is for the momentum for each one of those time frames. And that plus sign means positive. The N is actually neutral, and then a minus sign would be negative, just so you have a reference of kind of where I am on those. I'm going to go through those individually here in a minute. And when I go through the market conditions and in this way and kind of mark it down, I am using the S&P chart for that, not looking at the QQQ to create these. You could do your own for the Qs. Again, I'm trying to show you how to do this. It's probably good to maintain one for each. Maybe even do one for Russell for the 2000, Russell 2000 as well. There's a lot of improvement in that index and a lot of individual charts showing improvement as well. But if we look at the volatility, that's actually been declining, and I'll give you a quick reference to that as we go through. But again, that is actually turned positive now. The overbought, oversold has gotten above 70, and then again, the sentiment numbers are up 48%. Now, that's the difference between the bulls and the bears. It's gotten to 50% before, but in over 50%, but it's very rare. And in fact, we've only had that one time in the last 20 years, if I'm looking at the chart correctly. So I think that we're getting up into an arena where, you have to be a little bit more careful about doing any buying, especially longer term buying. I have no problem doing short-term trades under the right conditions, but we need to be a little bit more selective about our long-term investments when these conditions start to get overbought and too bullish. So let's go ahead and go into the trend now. I want to talk about the monthly. So we finished off last month very, very well. If you look at that bar, strong bar, mostly green, a little bit of a tiny little tail at the bottom and tiny little tail at the top, but mostly green. And that's a good finish for the month. Now, typically what happens when you have a big, strong green bar like that, you'll have some kind of a check back the next bar where you'll pause, pull back, hesitate a little bit and before, maybe getting some follow through in the last half of the month. So I'm sort of expecting the first half of the month to be a little bit more of like a consolidation or a pullback potentially, and then maybe finish off the year on an up note on the positive side. So that's just kind of where I am right now with this. I don't see anything wrong. Obviously, the trend is positive and the momentum signs are okay. I've mentioned the ADX in the past, but the MACD is confirming. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. This is the chart I think is in the best condition right now. You broke out, held the breakout. 3,500 is still important. I mean, if we came back down through 3,500, we'd have to have respect for that and accept the fact that maybe we're back into this sideways choppy action. But I do like the looks of the MACD. It looks confirming, and ADX is okay here. It's not powerful, but it is positive. If we look at the daily chart, we're moving higher in price, but it's more of a drift pattern, almost like a rising wedge in a way. Not quite that bearish, but it doesn't have the type of dynamics behind it. And we can see MACD is holding and looks okay, but it's not really ticking up yet. And I don't have the confirmation on green DI yet. If I were to draw a horizontal line across here, And I'll just use this here. We haven't taken out that prior peak right at this level, and I'd really like to see that to confirm the new price high and sort of prove that we've got new momentum coming into this market. So we don't really have that yet. Again, I would consider this more of an upward drift right now. We get a little bit more confirmation of that when we look at the ADX and the MACD on the hourly chart. So we've been making higher highs and higher lows here. If I zero in on the MACD, you can see on this last move, we did make a new high today relative to this prior peak, and MACD is not confirming that move. So from a short-term standpoint, it looks like we're getting a little bit tired on a MACD basis. And then if we go and look at ADX, we had a nice move with the gap that got the ADX above 25 up to about 30. But if you notice, green DI has been making lower highs, even though we made a new high here and another new high here. We're not really getting the same type of confirmation from the buyers here. There's not enough buying strength, and ADX is pretty low. So again, this would lead me to believe that maybe we're going to go through a little bit of like an ABC pullback, get some type of a drift downward, some type of a corrective move downward on an hourly chart that maybe even takes the hourly 18 below the 40, and maybe that sets up another push into the end of the year. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. Not really any official sell signal. Green DI is still above red. Red is still below 25. But if I saw a move where red crossed above 25 and got above this green peak here, then I would assume that on a short-term basis, the bears have taken control. So that's the thing you want to be on the lookout for, looking at your ADX lines. Let's go back and look at the Qs under these same conditions. Again, all four time frames are positive. I mean, the 18 is above the 40, and both lines are rising in all four time frames. So you have to view the trends as positively from that standpoint. This also on a monthly chart really did have a nice close. It wasn't quite as big of a move as the S&P had, but again, green bar, open near the low, close near the high. You have to consider that bullishly. We might just, because we've just ticked to a new high, maybe we're going to back and fill a little bit. Again, we'll just have to see how this reacts. But as we get into the lower time frames, it's starting to show the momentum is slowing a little bit. So let's look at the weekly chart. Again, this is a great looking time frame, respecting the 18 on each pullback. The MACD has slowed down on this, and that's kind of been the case all along here. But we've just recently, in fact, this week, we are crossing back above the signal line. So the MACD line itself is getting back above its signal line. And so we have to give this a chance to confirm. If we get a put, we are pushing through 300. If it can stay above 300, I think there's a pretty good chance we could see confirmation on a MACD basis. I think the ADX is in fine shape here. I don't see anything that caused concern on this time frame. The daily chart is I think a little bit better on the Qs than it is in the spiders. We've got better momentum conditions in the MACD, and the green DI, I want to look at this a little closer, has taken out that prior peak. So if you notice, price went to a new high, and we got green DI confirming by taking out that prior peak. So that's good short-term confirmation. Again, not real powerful, but I do like the overall look of this daily chart versus the S&Ps right now. It looks like it has a little bit better short-term momentum. Let's take a look at the hourly chart. Now, we have the same sort of condition taking place where the ADX is making lower highs and lower lows, but it's not to the degree, it's not as bad as what we saw in the S&P. And the 18 is still above the 40. Both lines are rising. If we saw some strength to the downside with some volume that created the red DI getting a little pop here, then I think I would be a little bit more concerned about what's taking place in the short term for the Qs. But right now, I could see this maybe pausing or consolidating, and the daily chart probably providing pretty good support there from the 18-day. So that's kind of where I am on that. I do want to take a quick look back at the S&P. We're going to go to a weekly, first the daily chart, and show that a quick look at the ATR declining here, and now the moving average is declining. So we're showing volatility decreasing right now on the S&P. That's a good sign. That means that, typically when volatility goes up, that's when risk increases, and that's when the risk of a decline or some type of a reversal goes up. So based on the fact that we're moving up and more to drifting higher, I would say that I'm waiting for momentum to come into this, but I'm not concerned by the volatility signs. And then if we look at the weekly and go take a look at, if we go and take a look at the overbought, oversold, you can see that the RSI 5 has gotten up to 72.73. Again, the higher this goes, the more risk there is, and that's the same is the case with the sentiment numbers. Again, that's our rundown of the market for the week. Let me know if you have any comments or questions. Hit that like button for me, and we'll talk to you soon.